get that feeling that there's something more going on, a kind of bigger picture to life, a structure for our own growth that goes way beyond just this one lifetime? Well, today we're diving into a really fascinating framework that says, yeah, that's exactly right. It looks at our whole existence as a kind of education for the soul. So, what if every single life we live is like a grade in school? With its own lessons, its own tests, things we have to master before we can move up to the next level. It's a wild idea, and it's actually the core concept from one spiritual master who sees our entire journey as this grand cosmic school for the soul. So who came up with this? His name is Hanshi Deena Naidu. He's a master in some really serious disciplines: karate, Reiki, and also something called kihetsu, which is all about spiritual development and awareness. So he's drawing from all this deep knowledge to offer this totally unique way of looking at how a soul progresses over time. And that brings us to his big idea, what we're calling soul school. The whole analogy is actually pretty simple, but it's also incredibly profound. The idea is that our lifetimes are the classrooms, each one specifically designed to teach us something crucial. So the goal isn't just to get through life, it's to actually learn and grow spiritually with each one. Now, this isn't just some loose metaphor. It has a really clear structure, and it all comes down to a simple rule we all know from school: you can't just jump into calculus before you've learned how to add. Naidu argues that the exact same thing is true for our spiritual education. There are prerequisites. Let's break that down. For a soul that's just starting its journey, you need some fundamental building blocks. So ideas like sin or heaven and hell, they act like the spiritual version of addition and subtraction. They provide this really clear rule-based system that helps a new soul get a handle on its more, primal instincts. But then you've got the advanced coursework. For souls that are way more spiritually mature, the curriculum gets a lot more complex. They're finally ready for what you might call the calculus of spirituality. These are deep, nuanced ideas that would make absolutely no sense to a beginner, just like calculus would to a first grader. And this spiritual calculus actually has a name in this framework: Sanathan Dharma. It literally translates to the eternal truth. This represents a super deep level of understanding about how reality really works, and it's reserved for souls who have already put in the work and passed their basic classes over many, many lifetimes. Okay, so if we've got a curriculum, then we've got to have students, right? And they must be at different grade levels. So that brings us to the journey of the soul itself. How does a student actually move through this incredible cosmic school? Well, the framework breaks this down into 4 clear stages. A soul starts out as a new soul. You can think of this as a spiritual kindergartner. Then it moves up to being a young soul, then an intermediate soul, and finally, a mature soul. Each one of these is a huge leap forward in the soul's education. So let's start at the beginning, the kindergarten level. What's on the lesson plan? It's all about simple, really powerful stories. Things like Adam and Eve, or the ideas of heaven and hell. In this view, they aren't just myths. They're actually essential teaching tools, built to help a new soul learn to manage its animalistic traits from a less developed consciousness. So, you might be wondering, how long do you stay in these early grades? The framework actually gives us a number. It says that after about 10 to 30 lifetimes, a soul has usually finished its basic training. It's ready to graduate from being a young soul and move on to become an intermediate soul. And this is where you see a huge shift in what you're learning. For those new and young souls, the main goal is just controlling the mind through a set of external rules. But once a soul hits that intermediate level, the homework completely changes. The focus isn't on following outside rules anymore. It's on mastering the self from the inside through big concepts like detachment, quieting the mind, and living beyond the ego. So what you get is this natural progression, this kind of spiritual hierarchy. And it's not about one level being better than another. It's all about readiness. A new soul just isn't built to understand what a mature soul is learning yet. And it keeps going. Mature souls work to become teacher souls, and teacher souls learn how to become master souls. Every single level has a belief system and a curriculum that is perfectly designed for it. All right, so this whole system, this cosmic school, it begs a really big question. What's the point of it all? What's the final exam? What does graduation even look like? And the man behind this idea, Hanshi Deena Naidu, he sums it up so powerfully with this one quote: "Every lifetime is like a classroom for education. In a short time, it is over." Wow, that really puts the whole thing into perspective, doesn't it? It's all about making the most of the time we have to learn. So really, the big takeaway here is pretty straightforward.
If life is a school, then each lifetime is like one precious school year. It's a limited time opportunity to master our lessons, to grow, and to move on up to the next grade. The curriculum is set, but the clock is definitely ticking.
And that leaves us with a question, one for you to think about long after this is over. This whole framework gives us a new way to look at our own lives, our own struggles. So take a second and ask yourself, if your life right now is a classroom, what subject are you studying? What's the main lesson you're here to learn?